you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness which creates and animates all things. After years of exploring this awe-inspiring truth on this podcast, I'm super excited to announce that we are now going even deeper down the rabbit hole on the new late-night style consciousness-elevating talk show called Optimistic, which features none other than you, the listeners. Optimistic is taped out of the epic, spaceship-esque 8-bedroom property we call the Mystic Manor that myself and the rest of the Optimistic crew now navigate reality from in Venice Beach, California. And you are invited to come experience a Mystic Manor immersion week with us. During your week-long stay, you'll enjoy unique workshops, chef-prepared meals, one-on-one time coaching and consulting with me, and even co-creating magic with me as a guest on both Optimistic and an episode of the Positive Head podcast. When I started this, my aim with these immersive retreats was to facilitate the ultimate spiritual upgrade and tune-up, so to speak, for our guests while providing them with one of the most memorable experiences of their lives. And I'm happy to say that as of this recording, every guest at the end of their trip so far has told me that they have had a profound and transformational experience at the Mystic Manor and that they definitely want to come back. All that being said, we only have a limited number of spots available between now and next July. And as of this recording, about half of those spots are already filled. So if there's any part of you that is screaming, yes, I want to come, I feel like I need to be there, go now and book a slot with me to discuss how we can put our heads together and make it happen at calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. I know for some people there is also that little voice in their head saying, why not? I can't get off work. I can't afford it, and on and on and on. But, really Henry Ford, I think, said it best. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And I'm confident that where there's a will, there's a way. And I'm personally committed to doing everything in my power, including discounts and payment plans, to get you here if it is something that truly feels like a huge yes for you energetically and like you're meant to be here. Once again, the link to book time to discuss with me is calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. That's spelled calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. All one word, of course. And book in some time and look forward to seeing you soon here at the Mystic Manor. All right, all you positive heads, welcome. It is a fantabulous, literally fantabulous. I'm holding a little mini golden fan that I'm fanning myself with. Fantabulous Friday here in the studio, and I am not alone. You guessed it. I have 3 lovely ladies here with me who have been brave enough to traverse the Mystic Manor this week, and we're going to share a little bit about what the week's been like and see what bubbles up to share with you guys on this magical moment in eternity that we're all just floating through. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah, we've got consensus. So why doesn't everyone just quickly introduce themselves?
Hello, I'm Kayla.
Hi, Kayla.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Shannon from Oklahoma.
Oklahoma in the house.
And I'm Rebecca from Orange County.
And I'm Brandon, and I'm from
Everywhere.
Neptune. So, who would like to kick us off with a little insight into their experience? Shannon, I think you have such an incredible story of how you first connected with the podcast. Maybe if you're willing, you could share that.
Yeah, sure. So, it's very unique and fun. So I was riding in my car one day, with the music on Spotify, listening to today's best hits, and I started just really not feeling the
hits weren't hitting it.
The hits were not hitting it. I'm like, what are they talking about? This is not, some of the lyrics just did not feel good for my soul. And so I was like, I need to listen to something else. So I hit the search button and I put in the word positive. Was wanting to find some positive music or just something better to put inside of me. And Positive Heads came up, and so I clicked on that. I was like, what is this? Just out of curiosity. And it started to play, and I believe it was Samantha, I'm not sure, that was interviewing a psychic medium, and she was like bringing in certain like spirits, and her voice was changing. And then she was about to do something, and she said, don't do this while you're driving. Of course, I was driving. I wasn't going to pull over, so I was like, okay.
Yeah, whatever, lady.
No, whatever.
The spirits aren't going to possess my car.
And so she started speaking in, I guess, a spirit language.
Like a light language thing.
Yeah, a light language. And some people know it as speaking in, like, tongues or something, but it, you know. And so that started happening, and it took over my car, and it got louder, and it just kept going, and I didn't understand it, and I tried turning the power off, the power button on my car, and I tried turning the volume down. I got on my cell phone, and I swiped and turned my Spotify off, and it just kept going, and it just kept going, and I was like,
whoa.
Oh. And so I remembered learning that sometimes spirits can travel through
electrical devices, kind of
radio, which is how we get our radio. I mean, it travels through the air.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, well, maybe something's happening here. And so I started laughing, and then I started talking back to it, and I was like, is this what we're gonna do the whole ride?
Wow.
And so after that, it got really quiet. The screen went blank on my car, and there was nothing. And I was like, oh shit, I don't know if I pissed it off or what's happening here. And then everything came back on by itself. My Spotify came back on. Samantha and the psychic started talking normally, you know, just normally talking. And I was like, this is weird.
Wow.
And so after that, I was kind of freaked out, but kind of excited. And then the next time I listened to the podcast, she was on again. And Samantha, or whoever was interviewing
might have been Alexa and Ambi. I don't know. I'm not sure. You know, yeah.
It was
I guess
a
it doesn't
female
matter.
interviewer.
Yep.
Here, but it was the same psychic, and the interviewer said, well, last time you were on, we had a lot of listeners who had, you know, strange experiences, and so I'm like, me.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was how.
Was it during your experience? It wasn't like scary to you though in any way. It was just more like weird and interesting. Or,
yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like that.
Good.
And so I just kept listening to Positive Heads after that, and I have to listen every day. If I miss, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't feel right today. I don't feel right. So, and a lot of times I'll be thinking things in my mind of just what I'm dealing with or what I'm thinking. And then sometimes I even speak that to my friends, and then I'll listen to the podcast, and it'll be the same thing that I was just thinking about.
Wow.
Like almost my same thoughts. It's just so crazy how it's been working out. And so, of course, I was like, I've got to go to the Mystic Manor. I got to get there. And I didn't have any money. I mean, honestly, I'm broke.
You're not broke. You're not broke. You were in the process of figuring it out financially, how to manifest from the unlimited abundance that is your birthright in order to get here.
Right. And I could have went to that place, like, I can't go, you know, I don't have the money, but instead I went ahead and made that appointment with you, the phone call. And I did not have the money, didn't know how I was going to get it.
Wow.
But the day before our appointment, I was gifted some money.
If I had a nickel for every time someone told me that money came out of nowhere once they made the vibrational choice to come here, it's like when you're And, I'm not just saying this because I want everyone. Yes, I would love for everyone to come, but it's true. It's the same way I'm learning to navigate my own life. It's like when something is fully in alignment and I know it's for the higher good of myself, for everyone that it affects, it's supporting something that's, rippling out into the world. All the check boxes are checked. And like, this is just good for everyone everywhere that is affected in some way. The universe wants to support that. And there's in unlimited ways that it can do so. We get so caught in the structure of, I remember, I want to say it was Dr. Bruce Lipton who wrote The Biology of Belief. He was sharing his synchronicity story years ago when I interviewed him. And it was like, him and his wife needed like $163,000 or something, some big number. And it was a specific number. And literally they just kept holding the vibration. It's coming. It's going to find a way. And lo and behold, like some inheritance she didn't know she was going to get, and it ended up being like exactly the amount they needed. Like, this is how the universe works. Like, and once you start understanding that, you start moving away from the stories of being broke into I am in the process of calling in what I need that's in my highest, greatest good and alignment. Right? Didn't you have a similar story too to that?
Yeah. So, I listened to Shaman Derek's podcast.
Yeah.
And then heard you. And
Shout
I was
out,
like,
Derek.
Ooh, I just love him. I'm going to listen to his podcast.
Aww.
So then I started listening to your podcast. And honestly, I didn't finish. It was like right where, kind of like at the middle point where you talk about the Mystic Manor.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I'm just going to like sign up and call him. And so then I talked to you and I was like, hi, Brandon, how are you?
That's just because we're both King of Hearts and Destiny Cards.
Yeah. And then my family's actually going on a cruise in April. That's also expensive. And I called you probably like 5 weeks ago. So every week would have been like, a large amount to go in just because we had a short amount of time.
Right. As far as making payments.
And it was actually like every week that I had that payment, I had a cruise payment too.
Right, wow.
So it was like double whammy. And I was like, you're like, can you do it? Like, are you sure you could do it? Like, it's kind of a short amount of time. And I'm of course, like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen for sure. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I knew it would. And the next day I got a credit line increase.
Oh, wow.
Out of nowhere, and it was...
You didn't even ask for it.
I didn't ask for it.
Wow.
I wasn't expecting it, probably. Shouldn't have received it, but I did. And
you should have received it, which is why you did.
Yeah. You got me. And it was enough for both, so, I could still make my family happy and go on the cruise, and come here, and... even more abundance. I'm going to Europe too.
Wow!
In
all
a
right.
week, so
you just traveling.
All the things.
Wow, that's so cool.
All good things.
Yay! Well, you deserve it, or it wouldn't be happening. So I love these stories. Make me so happy.
What was that song we were listening to yesterday? I want it.
I want it.
I got it. I didn't hear it, but I like it.
It was Ariana Grande.
I want it. I got it. And how about you, little lady, here to my right?
Okay, so I'm Rebecca, and the reason why I'm here, actually I work in financial literacy, and my website is actually called howmoneyworks/abundance.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You didn't tell. I haven't even heard that.
Right.
Howmoneyworks.com/abundance?
Howmoneyworks.com/abundance.
Okay. Cool.
And what it really is about, like, I wanted to kind of close the gap between, like, the financial industry versus how do we have our abundance and what is our financial stories, and that carries us on throughout our years, because it's not about the money and the number itself, but it's really about our thought process and what our programming is.
Yeah.
And I think there's a disconnect between the corporate world and like this type of creating abundance, kind of like manifesting things.
Yep.
And like they're so polarizing in a certain way, and I think if you connect it, more people are going to be able to see why we do it and kind of empower them a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody has a couple grand and 7 days off to do this, for the most part. And I was kind of the same way. And the reason when I got here was, this went back all the way to March when I met a random guy, country club, and we went out, we hung out, and then he never called. And then October, end of October, he calls and he's like, hey, sorry if I lost connection with you, but let's go out, let's hang out. And I had just read the book called The Surrender experiment.
Ooh, Michael Singer.
Yes.
That's so funny because
Yeah.
Your sister, that's the thing, who's also here this week but is not joining us today on the podcast recording. His other book, The Untethered Soul, is one of the things I really want to talk to her about in our day. Because today, guys, we go out hiking together and I spend one-on-one time with each person and kind of drop in with what I feel intuitively and called to share per our conversation. And so it's funny because Michael Singer's other book that comes up for me with her.
That first book a long time ago.
Okay, cool.
And then my sister's the one that told me about
the surrender experiment.
And then Ryan was like, who told me about this? I think it's my brother. And I think he's the one that told me about this book. He does this podcasting and he talks about me.
And he talks about me. Which isn't his favorite thing.
And it's not his favorite thing. And he kind of just casually say it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. No big deal. Mm-hmm. And the next day I was like, well, if he talks about you, I kind of wanted to listen to the podcast. To learn more about you because you're so busy. Mm-hmm. So I listened to the podcast. Within 3 days, I was like, I want to go meet him. This is really crazy. The fact that he cultivate all these things that I've read into one place and is able to do something like this. This is the person I want to meet. And so I texted Ryan. It's like, hey, I need to go meet your brother. And he's like, yeah, definitely.
Cool.
And I'm like, this guy's not going to be able to carry this out. I'm just going to book the Calendly and talk to Brandon himself.
That was smart because he would have probably totally not contacted me.
Yeah. So I took matters into my own hands.
Good
and
job.
I invited my sister and, everything kind of just landed perfectly. And now I'm here with my sister.
Oh, wow. How cool.
Kind of, you meet wonderful people here and it really pushes you to the best of your limits, because it expands your mind.
Yeah.
And that's what's beautiful, because one thing is to read, which I'm good at, reading about all these things.
Totally.
So logically understanding it, but it's another thing to experience it.
Experiential is top. It's just, you can't, there's no substitute for that.
Yeah. So it's been interesting.
Yeah, definitely your growth edge, right?
Right.
Yeah. And definitely your sister's growth edge.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just applaud everyone who's brave enough to step into this wild world that we have here.
Actually, I have another story.
Sure. Yeah, we love stories.
I've always felt like I'm intuitive, but I never listened to it. And I think this weekend kind of may give me some validation to there's something outside of yourself and you should listen to it. And one other thing is I had this idea of giving Ryan a gift because he can't sleep, and so I was gonna make this little gift and give it to him in November, and I was like, I don't see him, I have all this other stuff I have to do and I'm not gonna do it. And then I listened to this podcast about, the number is 237. It's about him and his ex-girlfriend and using the channeler. And then I was driving to work another time and I was like, let's listen to another podcast. And that exact podcast, the number showed up and it's talking about Ryan and his girlfriend and channeling as I'm driving past Villa Siena, which is where she used to live. And I'm passing
where I used to live and where she took her life.
Yes.
Wow.
And that was in early December.
Yeah, I felt it.
And that's also where you pass Ryan's place. And I'm in the car, I'm like, and the voice says, you go give Ryan the gift. And I'm like, I don't want to get out of my way and do this. And they're like, you need to go do it. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I'm arguing to myself on this. I'm like, well, this is clearly a sign. This is the second time I've listened to this podcast.
Wow.
I'm the exact moment of where they live. And it's on my way to work.
Wow.
So
Did you do it?
Yeah, so I did it.
Okay.
Wow.
I did it. It was around Christmas, and then Ryan thanked me, but then, and I didn't want to tell the story because I think I'm a little crazy.
All the best people are.
And then for some odd reason, Ryan he texted me again recently, and he's like, hey, I'm sorry if I didn't thank you efficiently. And I was like, well, this sounds crazy, but I don't feel like that gift was from me. I felt it was from somebody else.
Wow.
But if you want to talk about it, give me a call and I'll tell you the story. But now he can just listen to this podcast.
Wow.
As he talked about, right?
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. What a great share. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. We haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So, one of the things that I like to do on these these Friday episodes where, I get to co-create this podcast with all of you, is give you the opportunity to share anything that you just feel compelled to share in general. You have a lot of people who are going to hear this. You have the microphone. Is there anything that, the three of you, that's bubbling up, maybe something that's really been a theme this week?
Yeah.
That's been a, aha moment, or just something in your life in general that you feel by sharing it could help someone else out there?
I'll share a story or just something that keeps coming to my head. So I came really looking for community, which I found, but also sisterhood. Mm-hmm. I might get emotional. And it's definitely been a theme, and we've all been kind of working on our, divine femininity. And yesterday we found out that we were warriors in a past life.
What was that? How did you do that? I wasn't privy to
Well,
that.
Petra did kind of like a little Akashic
reading.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
And I just thought it was funny because here we are, kind of in battle with our shadows together. And it's been beautiful.
She said that we've been together before, like, in a tribe as women. It's only women this time.
Yeah, right. I always think that whoever is here together, it's like there's no mistakes, and the amount of synchronicity I've seen with who, randomly ends up here together is like been fascinating to watch.
And 3 out of the 4 of us are from Orange County.
Yeah,
And
wow.
Shannon's moving soon. So that was beautiful. And then last night we did the Liberation Dojo and had the craziest, woman circle and just, held hands over one of our sisters that were hurting. And all of us were, feeling the same thing and in similar ways. We were all looking for sisterhood. It was everything that we all needed. And it was really cool. And my ego was like, don't go. You're tired. You don't want to do this tonight. This event's going to be too much for you. And I went, and it was the best event. And we met and connected with so many other beautiful sisters. And yeah, I just left feeling like what I came here and sought out, I received.
Oh.
Plus, way more.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, we're not done yet.
We're not done yet. That's the craziest part. It's the best part. Yeah.
Wow.
Lots of highs and some lows.
It definitely brings out what I've noticed too. Of course, this is like the 19th week of guests, and what I've noticed is people always say, "Oh, you live it." It's like a mini Burning Man kind of vibe, right? And except for a lot less dirt and discomfort. And one of the things about Burning Man, having been 7 times, is it is this container of transformation where almost everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, I had these incredible breakthroughs and realizations, and some really challenging moments," and it's sort of like a cauldron for transformation. And I feel like that is really what is happening in this space too. It's like people, triggers come up, and then it's funny. I even watched the flow of days. I always notice as it gets closer to the end of the week, typically people are a lot of people that were more closed off at the beginning or just have had so many breakthrough type experiences. So yeah, it definitely is a lot of that seems to happen, which is the intention that was set. So we did it. We're doing it.
Yeah.
How about you, Shannon? Do you have anything that you feel compelled to share with the people, the P-heads out there?
Well, not really. Sorry. There's one thing. It's kind of like a little, I guess, synchronicity or whatever. But whenever I got here, later that day, somebody asked me what time did I get here. And I said the time, it just came out of me. I said, well, I think I got here at such and such time. And then, I think it was the day after, or maybe 2 days ago. Anyways, we got that text message on what the code was to get in the gate.
Uh-huh.
It was the same number
as the time
that I got here.
Oh, wow.
So,
oh, awesome.
We also came on 1/20/2020.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's our first date. Yeah.
yeah.
Extra clear vision for you guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crystal.
Wow.
Yeah, I also, Samantha and I, when I first saw her, I was like, oh, like, you know, I just felt really familiar with her.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, and in my head, I was thinking, I have to, like, work with her somehow. I don't know how. And I'm just like, yeah, but I'm not going to say that to her, you know. Not yet, at least. But, and a few days went by, and we were outside stretching, and she's like, I feel like, well, she was like, oh, I had a dream. We were talking last night in my dream, and I think we were partners, and we're partnering up on something, and I'm like, I think we have some work to do together, too.
How cool.
I'm like, I'm not sure what capacity, but for sure we have some work to do together.
Wow.
And I was like, and you're very familiar to me. And she's like, oh, yeah, we definitely, like, spend some lives together, you know? So it's cool to connect with someone that I was I mean, all of you guys I was supposed to connect with, but someone that might take my path.
Yeah, you know,
else.
I feel that, I mean, I feel that really strongly with Samantha personally. Of course, you guys out there listening have been hearing, she's been subbing, you know, helping her and Erica have been mixing it up in the new year with Samantha. She just launched her new podcast, and she's been on Tuesday and Thursdays on this podcast. And, but yeah, Samantha and I, it's really very strong like that. When she had a dream about her and I being brother and sister in a past life. And I remember her telling me like, yeah, I had this really weird dream this morning. And then she had an Akashic record reading a week later with Leah. Yeah. And Leah said that we had been twins in a past life. Oh, and her birthday's July 27th. Mine's July 28th.
Wow.
Our gene keys are like identical, which is like super.
You guys are still twins.
Yeah, super. Yeah, we're like cosmic Twinkies of sorts.
Oh, amazing.
So, and I just like love and adore her, and yeah, it's very brother sisterly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love Petra.
Petra is amazing too.
She is so fun.
Petra is the priestess of play. So yeah, she owns it. Oh yeah, she is good.
She's so sassy.
Yeah.
And yesterday I didn't tell anybody, but when she said, "I see you like with a yellow flower or whatever," the day before I was sitting out in the hot tub, and there was one little yellow flower, and I don't remember who I said it to. I said, "Look at that little yellow flower."
Wow.
I didn't tell her that when she said it. I just kind of was like,
ooh. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, she's phenomenal too. Oh, this has been really good. Yeah. Anyone have anything to share before as we wind down here?
I'll share something.
Okay.
So I'm Vietnamese and Catholic. So the idea is that I've noticed this whole weekend, the theme for me is like really learn to connect. For the people that out there that are listening, you know, I'm in finance, I'm Catholic, and I'm Asian. So it's very one way. And there's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot of intuition. There's a lot of things we can understand and make more decision with your heart.
Yeah.
So I really encourage, you know, anybody that's listening that might be resonating with, take that extra leap. You know, I took that extra leap, and I came here and they're like, oh, what is your body, what is it, code design?
You like human design?
Human design, and then so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a reflector. And then Brandon comes and tell me like, oh, you're weird. I'm like, wait, I have the weird people in this place. That I'm weird, the nerve of these people.
Takes one to know one.
Yeah. The idea is like, there's no normal.
There is no such thing.
There's no normal, and just take the leap and do whatever that your heart calls for, and that's what I'm going to do from now on. And I'm practicing that, and it's kind of exciting.
That is super exciting.
Right.
And you know what? With someone who has been very structured, when you break that mold and you have those moments of like, I'm going to break out of and open my heart. It's easy for really intelligent people to get trapped in their head. And the brain is a great tool. Our mind is a great tool, but it's meant to be led by the heart. The heart actually sends twice as many signals to the brain as the brain does to the heart. And so this is like ancient wisdom. I wish I had the quote in front of me. It's like Plato or someone way back. It's like, you know, the heart is meant to be sort of the decision maker, not the head. Right. And we've gotten that flipped around in our current society, which is why there's so much imbalance. Mm-hmm. And as someone, finance, that's very like, left-brained kind of activity. And when someone like yourself, who's in these very, I've been put in a box of, my culture does this, Catholicism does this, I'm doing finance, and you start to kind of come out the other side and break through and see, hold on, there's more. Doesn't have to be this one way. Right. Not only are you changing your own life, you're doing it for the collective, because there's so many people that are just pigeonholed in these boxes that keep them in. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this, where it's like, if you are doing the same thing every day, he goes into the science of how it like literally creates your reality to just be like a Groundhog Day. And if you want new experiences, you've got to pattern disrupt. Mm-hmm. And so, by you doing that and saying, making that commitment to, I'm going to step more into, I'm going to use my heart more and let it start leading the way. It's like the ripple of impact that it's like that little deviation can create such a different timeline of experience for you. So
right. I also got my palm read, and they said that I'm very creative and I'm an artist. I'm like, no, I'm not. But I do have a very polarizing side of and I think you can have both. Like, practice both of your brain.
Yeah.
You can be just as creative as you are logical, and together, that's why we have both brains, is so that it can kind of function.
I would say, you said, no, I'm not, but I would say maybe you haven't expressed or experienced that part of yourself, because at the end of the day, we're one with Source.
Right.
And what is Source? The Creator. What does it do? When is it most fulfilled? When it's creating. Yeah. So that's who you are at your core. We all are. Whether or not that's being nurtured and exercised, that's a whole different thing. And so it's like my partner Karen, who's here last week, there was the art workshop. She's in grad school and super, like, she just won like Student of the Year in California for her curriculum, and she literally still had it one more week off from the holidays, so she decided to step into. She's been having a lot of awakening experiences in the recent months, and so she decided to put herself into this, art workshop with like all the other students there are pretty skilled, have more experience. And Jonathan Salter, who did this painting right above us right now, is the teacher, and she put herself through it, and she came out the other end, and she had days where it was like brought up all these challenges of needing to be perfect and not good enough and and I only want to do things I'm good at. And by the end, she has this beautiful piece that she made, and she put a week's worth of work into, and it was like using that other part of her self, tapping into that part of herself that she didn't really fully know was there, but she went down that path. And now literally, I was so blown away by how good the piece she made was. Yeah, I'll show you pictures of it. Yeah, she'll be actually tomorrow. She's going to go with us to the benevolence event, Yaima, and so nice. I'll have her show you pictures.
I would love to see that.
Wow, this has been awesome. Thank you, ladies, for co-creating this magic with all of us here. Does anyone have anything that they want to share?
I'd say just like, grow your magic, follow your heart, do something scary. Just say yes.
If it scares you and excites you, it's probably for you.
Yeah.
That being said, any of you guys who want to come to the Mystic Manor course, you can reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you. You can set up a time to talk with me, calendly.com/talk with Brandon. We actually still have a spot the first week in February. So, just let me know if you're interested in diving in the deep end of the pool and swimming in the Mystic Manor magic with the rest of us. And I'd love to chat with you, whether it's those dates or in the future. Sometimes, like I said, if I had a nickel for every time someone took the plunge and then some sort of assistance financially came out of left field, I mean, literally that story I've just heard on repeat here.
Some magic.
It's really encouraging for me, because there's so much ahead of me cost-wise for the things that I'm doing, releasing the show, and sometimes it's like overwhelming. And then I'm just like, oh yeah, you're so aligned with what you're doing. The universe will provide exactly what you need. You know,
taken care of.
Yeah.
Just set that appointment up. You'll get it.
Yeah, you guys literally inspire me with my own journey every time I hear that story from you. So thank you guys so much for co-creating. None of it would be happening without you. So thank you for, trusting, pushing that growth edge of it scares you and excites you. And literally you are helping to make this happen by doing that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That being said, everyone, I hope you have a magical moment wherever you're receiving this. So even if it's in the year 2983 you're listening to this, we are probably floating around watching and laughing that. Imagine if someone I always think that, I'll throw that out at least once every few months. That's down the road, someone's like, who was this Brandon Beecham character 1,000 years ago? And then let's listen to a random podcast that still exists. What a novel idea. A podcast. Yeah. And they play this episode and it's and I say 2983 and they're in 2983.
Magic.
Magic is real. Love you all so much. Until next time, journey well. And if you're feeling the call to come for a week retreat-style Mystic Manor immersion, remember to go now and book your time to speak with me directly about stepping into the optimistic vortex at calendly.com/talk with Brandon while there are still spots left. Otherwise, I look forward to co-creating magic with you at the Mystic Manor.